We're always told that to fix a problem, you just need more of something. More money, more time, more people. But what if that whole way of thinking is just wrong? Today, we're going to dig into why success is almost never about just adding more and everything to do with finding the right balance. I love this phrase from filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan. He called it the "if some is good, more is better" syndrome. It's this trap we all fall into, right? This assumption that if a little bit of something is good for us, then a whole lot of it must be fantastic. So let's really put that idea to the test. Okay, think about vitamin A. If you get only half the amount your body needs, it's a huge problem. It can even lead to blindness. So more is better, right? Well, not so fast. If you take double the amount you need, you don't get supervision. It doesn't work that way. It just goes to show you effectiveness often lives in a really specific sweet spot. So if just piling on more isn't the answer, what is? Well, it all starts with finding the one thing that's holding everything else back, your system's single weakest link. This brings us to something called the law of the minimum. This idea comes from a 19th century chemist, Justus von Liebig. And what he discovered is that a system's growth isn't determined by all the stuff it has in abundance. Nope, it's dictated by its scarcest resource, what he called the limiting factor. Liebig figured this out by studying farming. I mean, for grain to grow, it needs a bunch of things, right? It needs sunlight, it needs water, and it needs a whole cocktail of nutrients in the soil, like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and tons of others. But here's where he had his big breakthrough. He realized it doesn't matter how many truckloads of nitrogen you dump on a field if the soil is completely missing phosphorus. It's totally useless. You can't just add more of what you've already got plenty of. You have to find and fix the one thing that's holding the entire system back. And look, this isn't just about plants. This logic is everywhere. You can have all the flour in the world, but if you don't have yeast, you are not making bread. It's that simple. Or a company can have 1 million customers, but if it runs out of energy or capital, it's game over. Every single system has a limiting factor. So once you've found that limiting factor, the next question is, okay, how much do I actually need? This is all about finding the Goldilocks zone. Not too little, not too much, but just right. This leads us to the idea of threshold effects. This is when something is only helpful up to a certain point, or maybe it only starts being helpful after you've reached a minimum amount. It tells us that improvement isn't some smooth, straight line. It happens in jumps. Let's go back to that great example about schools. A school with only half the textbooks it needs is definitely in trouble. But a school with twice as many textbooks isn't twice as good. It's just wasting money. There's a minimum you need to succeed, and then you hit a point where adding more does absolutely nothing. Engineers actually have a specific name for this. They call it a parameter threshold. It's basically a non-negotiable minimum that a system absolutely has to hit just to work at all. Think about an airplane. For it to fly, its lift must be greater than its weight. There's no partial credit. It either flies or it doesn't. The history of sea travel is a perfect story of this. The first steamboats were super limited by how far they could go before refueling. Then technology got better, and steamships could travel further. But the real game changer was the ocean liner, which finally broke that critical distance threshold, making long-range travel a reality. All that progress was about clearing that one specific hurdle. But here's where it gets even more interesting. It's not just about having enough of each individual piece. It's about how those pieces work together. It's about the power of teamwork. The historian Nathan Rosenberg put it perfectly. He said that technologies almost never work by themselves. Their real power, their true value, comes from how they connect and interact with other technologies. The magic isn't in the pieces themselves, it's in how they play together. It's really simple when you think about it. You could go out and buy the best, most expensive amplifier in the world, but if you connect it to a pair of cheap, terrible speakers, the music is going to sound awful. The quality of the whole system is defined by how well the parts work with each other. Oh, and this is a classic trick in filmmaking. You take a shot of a man's blank face. Then you cut to a shot of a bowl of soup. What do you feel? Hunger. Now take that exact same shot of the man's face, but this time cut to a different image. Suddenly, it implies something totally different, like lust. The first shot has no meaning on its own. Its meaning is created entirely by the shot that comes after it. It's all about the interaction. Cultures all over the world have understood this for centuries. Think about classic food pairings, rice and beans, pita and hummus. On their own, greens and legumes are nutritionally incomplete, but when you put them together in the same meal, they create a complete protein. The magic isn't just in the rice or just in the beans. It's in the rice and the beans. And we see this at a tiny biochemical level inside our own bodies. Your body gets way better at absorbing iron if you have it with some vitamin C. Vitamin D is like a key that unlocks calcium absorption. These nutrients are partners. Their combined effect is so much greater than the sum of their parts. Even fire ants get this. When they lay a trail, they don't use just one chemical. They use a cocktail of 3. One pheromone attracts other ants to the area. A second one gets them all excited and ready for action. And a third one guides them along the path. If you take away even one of those chemicals, the whole system just breaks down. They all have to be there interacting for it to work. So, what's the big takeaway here? When you put all these ideas together, limiting factors, thresholds, and interactions, it forces you to adopt a whole new way of thinking. You have to start thinking like a system. What this really means is we have to stop looking for that one magic bullet, that one simple fix. Real, lasting improvement doesn't work that way. It comes from understanding the whole system, its weakest points, its critical thresholds, and the incredible, powerful ways all the different parts interact. There's a great quote from a Harvard researcher named Richard Elmore that just nails it. He found that real change almost never comes from what he called main effects, one big, obvious action. It comes from interaction effects, all the subtle, complex ways that different elements boost or amplify each other. That's where the magic really is. So I want to leave you with a question to think about. In your work, in your projects, in your life, stop asking, what can I add more of? And instead, start asking yourself, what is my next limiting factor? Find that, and you'll find the real path to success.